I've been talking for minutes and minutes and minutes. This has been, hold on one second. Now I gotta go off screen. I just ate some dinner right before coming on here. I'm gonna come back on screen in a second. Um, but I just ate some dinner right before, and so now I have something in my teeth, and so I'm trying to get that out. But yeah, I was saying that you can see my background is different because there's something going on with my lighting um in the house, and we don't know what's going on with my lighting. It's probably the wiring. This is an old house, so I wouldn't have been able, like, the lights are messed up in my room. And so I'm like, you would have been able to see me sitting in the dark. You would have been able to see, I mean, now it's daylight right now, but as the night gets colder, not colder, darker, it's just going to get darker and darker and darker. I know, right? 2 streams in a day. It's a wealth of riches. So I was like, what am I going to do about the lighting? Like, that would be I know it would be distracting for me. So I was like, well, what am I going to do about, like, my background around me? Because you can see me, I got the ring light on, so that's fine. But I was just like, what am I going to do about my background? And so then I had to figure out how to do the green screen thing. I've had this green screen. My aunt gave this to me years and years and years ago. I just never used it because I liked my background. I liked my little squares in the back. But I had to figure out how to do this. So earlier I pulled the green screen thing out and figured out how to do it. This thing is sitting right on the back of my chair. But yeah, because I'm not I know I talked to you before. I would come back and be like, oh yeah, I had this and that and the other going on. It would just be like craziest, most random things just like this that would just happen whenever I would try to get some kind of continuity going. So like I said earlier, new levels, new devils. So I'm trying to keep it going. I'm doing what I can. But yeah, so like I said, this stream is going to be about Ashley from Love is Blind. This is the one who was married to the guy Tyler. And she recently did an interview with another Love is Blind alum named AD, who had her own troubles. Mind you, these are both Black women, and they both were matched themselves, whatever, with Black men. And they had horrific, like, not even just like, oh, it was bad, it didn't work out, yada yada. No, they had horrific experiences with these men. And oh, thank you, MJ. I know I'm just kind of talking myself through, embarrassment or whatever. I'm working on it. Just bear with me while I get myself comfortable and work through my anxieties. But yeah, they got married, and when she married him, I don't know, was it after she married him? Yeah, Kambari. Or I don't remember because I did not watch the show. I know everything I knew and know about these people from the people I've been hanging with in different spaces I'm in. So, but I did watch like interviews and stuff after the show of these people talking about what was going on and everything like that. And so I what I know of the situation is that these two people, you know what, let me show y'all. This is, and I know y'all probably saw it earlier. Hold up, is this open? Oh, let me open this. This is what it's supposed to look like. And this is what it did look like I said this morning and the other day. I think I put it up last night. This is what we talk about. But Restream is playing with me, and I guess because I'm currently streaming, it won't allow me to change the thumbnails. But yeah, this is the subject matter. So they got married, And she found out at some point, either right before they got married or after they got married, that he had fathered some children. He had sired some children, 3 children to be exact. One singular birth and a set of twins. And so when she found out about that, or when he decided to tell her about that, what he told her was that they were the product of him donating sperm to a lesbian couple so that they could raise the children as their own, independent of his involvement. And so basically, long story short, I'm sorry, I heard a motorcycle outside. Long story short, come to find out he was lying about pretty much everything except having fathered the children. That the children at one point, he was helping to raise these children and playing the role as their father and being known and interacting with them as their father. And her being a woman, a single woman, a beautiful woman, a well-off woman, she had her own vision, her own plans for a life and a family that, of course, did not include outside babies. You know what I mean? Even if they were there before her, it was unfair to her. There's no question in my mind that the situation was unfair to her, and that she was put in a difficult and embarrassing and horrible position. But what we're here to talk about tonight is how she handled that in relation to the children, and how she spoke about the children, and how she was thinking of the children or not thinking of the children in this, and how that is a mirror for how I'm going to say the Black community specifically deals with children of relationships that did not work out. And I want to make sure this is just me looking. Please pay me no mind looking in the background. Yeah, okay, that's there. And this is there. Okay, in fact, let me pull this up just so we have it. Okay, good. It's right where I need it to be too. I I I I don't want you talking, sis. Not yet. Sorry, I'm trying to put it where I need it to be. I want to talk about the way she was talking about the children, because she just did that interview with AD, and this is, mind you, first off, let's you know what? I'm going to do the intro, and then we'll come back and we can get into it. So give me a second to pull up this intro, because I'm chomping at the bit. I have some things to say. Sorry, y'all. I'm laughing at myself. This is a mother.
No problem. You in charge of the girls, right? I am in charge of the girls. Are you in charge of the girls? I am in charge of the girls.
So yeah, what pissed me off about watching, because that's not what we're going to watch. We are going to watch an interview she did, but this is an interview she did when she was still in the marriage with Tyler. She was still invested in the marriage with Tyler, and so when we're talking about the interview she did recently after the dust has settled from that whole situation, the way she was talking about the situation rubbed me the wrong way, because I remember the way she was talking about the situation, and specifically the way she was talking about and referring to the children, was not just uncharitable, it was cruel. And to me, it felt very violent. and specifically towards the children. Like, I can get being angry about the situation. I can get being angry at like the people talking about it, and being apprehensive or anxious about how people were going to be discussing her marriage, the implications of how this was affecting her, like all of these things, and even having to grapple with, because she was very much so still invested in the marriage, having to grapple with how much different her life may have had to look, and like fighting against that when coming into this knowledge after you've already invested emotionally in this person, that these children exist. So I can get having anger, feeling anger, and needing to express anger, however, I felt like there was a very pointed anger towards the children specifically. Like, I wouldn't even be so mad or been mad at her if she was like expressing that anger solely towards the mother of the children. But the way she was referring to the children, it gave very much so, I hate you for existing. And she was standing behind, wait a minute. Sorry, I'm looking at this thing. Who is calling? It's always somebody trying to call me. No, that ain't it. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to remember how I had adjusted this thing. Oh, it was this. It was this. Sorry. There we go. Okay. Even being upset at I can understand her being upset at the mother, because the mother and Tyler were the reason that she was going through this, in a sense, because of how they had chose to handle their business, right? But the way she was talking about the kids, it was clear that it was just mean and nasty in a way that was unnecessary. And I remember just thinking, oh, this is a nasty woman. This is the type of woman that you see in the community. And there was a conversation that Themis and Thoth had a few years ago surrounding the skit they did with the McDonald's mom, or the McDonald's family, whatever it was, where the mom had multiple children by multiple men, and the father, and she called the father of all of the kids, or one of the kids. Yeah, gave evil stepmother. She called the father of one of the kids, or all of the kids, and said, "Hey, we don't have any food. My stamps aren't coming until the next month. Yada yada yada. Can you help me out?" And this man decided to bring one meal from McDonald's to his one child, and it probably was produced, but she took the food. She went outside, met him outside, took the food, threw it on the ground, and was like, "If you're not bringing for all of my kids, then I'm not, like, we're not doing that." And I did a whole discussion about that. I don't want to get into, what my thoughts are. You can go back into my catalog. I believe it's called Over It. It's either the one called Over It All. I believe it's the one called Over It All, from like a couple years ago. And I went into detail about what I thought about that. But specifically, the way the community, people that were responding to it. And there was this one woman in particular on his panel that was talking about how if she were to have married that man, that she would have had to like oversee how he was interacting, and like, oh, they could do it. Was giving very much so, you're just a whore, and I'm the wife now, so I take precedence over you, and like, you'll just have to deal with whatever scraps we deem you deserving. It was just very unnecessary. The energy is so unnecessary and uncharitable when we're talking about single mothers and their children. And when you get into these broader conversations about single mothers and their children, and like who's responsible, and these guys and some women just feel like, oh, well, if the man doesn't want the woman for whatever reason, then the man shouldn't have to be burdened with those children and shouldn't have to worry about it, because he needs all of his bandwidth and wherewithal to deal with the woman he chooses, the woman he loves, and their real legitimate like, it's just so much nastiness towards children. all in the sake of this patriarchal hierarchies of nuclear families and men being the head and women being the neck and all, all the things. So when she was talking about her experience in this thing, in hindsight and in retrospect, I personally felt like she was not engaging with how she had spoken about the children, and like she mentioned the backlash she was getting and the critique she was getting about how she spoke about the children, but she wasn't engaging and taking accountability for how unkind she had been. She actually was just kind of like, oh, well, I just, that's what they're called. I thought they were sperm, because she called them sperm babies or sperm donor babies or something like that, as a way of dismissing their humanity. You're not going to tell me she wasn't. And I'm saying that not just because of the words she used, but because of the energy that was coming off of her. And I believe that this interview that we're going to watch tonight, like I said, back from when she was actually with him, is the one where she was speaking of them in that way. I mean, mainly it was the reunion, I think it was, where the subject was brought up and she was saying a lot of stuff. But I also remember watching this, and you can see the way she's talking. It's very dismissive. I remember that it was very dismissive. And the reason I'm talking about this now is because even so far later, after everything has come out and she has finally let him go and recognized that he was not the man for her and he was not a good man, that she's still not engaging with the harm she did to those children. Because regardless of everybody else, like forget me, forget anybody else that might have seen it or be talking about it, one day these kids are going to see all this. And so you are okay and standing on your ground to not just be like, you know what, I'm sorry, and I was upset at that moment. Like I was upset at that moment and I took it out on the wrong people. She's not even acknowledging that the way she was talking about it was due to her. She was due to her being upset, but she's not even acknowledging that there was anything wrong with how she was engaging. And again, I believe it's because technically she didn't say anything wrong, but I'm engaging with the energy she was putting forth, which again, want to reiterate, totally understandable to be upset, totally understandable to be disgusted, totally understandable to be resentful in a general sense, but like she was doing it directly to the children, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion. And for her to still see that and not be able to, like, that, like, I just didn't feel like she's being honest. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share this, and we're going to watch it. And I started it from where we're at because I try to be mindful of you guys' time. Wait a minute. Hold on. I feel like wait a minute. I gotta see something. I want to see what y'all seeing. What the heck is that? Hold on, y'all. I'm testing something. I'm being quiet because I'm waiting. It's a delay. So I'm trying to see. Why does this feel like it's not moving? Can y'all still see me? Okay. So why the heck? I'm looking at the thing. I'm looking at the screen. I'm looking at how it's looking. And I'm realizing that what I was doing to adjust the screen, like I adjusted the screen to like put me more in frame or whatever on my end. Wait a minute. Sorry. I'm still figuring this stuff out, y'all. So this means I'm gonna have to do this every single time. It's at 130. Child, I don't know what's happening. I'm just looking at this thing. Okay, whatever. We're just going to keep going. I wanted to see what was going on, and now I do. So, whatevs. Okay.
Odds, especially all the conversation that you and Tyler had about kids. I think right after that, we had seen a conversation with your father and Tyler and you all about having kids. It was just like, this is not something you just leave out. So let's maybe start there in terms of, can you bring us into the room where I think a lot of people were wishing, why wasn't this caught on camera? How did this even get brought up? And I guess, how did the conversation go from there in terms of what you found out about Tyler's past? And then can you start shedding some light on what the truth is? Because there seems to be a lot of speculation and accusations and rumors that are flying all over the internet about the man that you married. And if you could set the record straight, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, so the reason it seems awkward in that scene when everyone's like, what is happening? She's in this beanie and she's like sitting here, very serious. And I've been so giddy the entire time, right? So the night before, ironically, me, Tyler, and Nick D went out to like a bar down the street from the complex we all were staying in for like the reality part of it. And we had like a few drinks, and then we came back, and then he was like sitting on the couch and his tone was kind of weird. And I just was like, okay. Like I drank red wine too. I'm like kind of sleepy. And he's like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, about what? And so I sit down. He's like, sit down. Oh, no, he said, sit down. I'm like, when someone says that, it immediately makes me anxious.
Yeah, please don't get mad. I need to tell you something.
Yeah. And so I'm like, and this is worse when they text you it. And you're like, say
we
it.
need to talk. We need to talk to you in 10 hours.
Yeah. So
But not right now.
Yeah.
Later.
It's like, just pause and don't say it, So I sit down and I'm like, what? And so he's just like sitting there staring in the weirdest way. And I go, please tell me you don't have an STD. Like,
oh my.
Because that would be, I'm sorry, not against anyone who does, but like that's something I should know
First,
again
absolutely.
prior to getting married and being sexually active, right?
It's also something that if you did find out would be difficult potentially to deal with.
Yeah,
It's something you would have to learn to accept.
100%.
So there's no.
Yeah. And so he's like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, what, you got some kids or something?
Oh,
Like you guessed it? And he doesn't laugh.
No.
He doesn't laugh. And my heart sank to the ground. I feel like I'm put back there right now as I'm telling you the story. And I'm like, what do you mean? And so he begins to deep dive into the conversation a little, not fully. I won't say deep dive. He begins to allude to the fact that he was a sperm donor for, a lesbian couple who's married. And, he was afraid to tell me because he didn't want to lose me. And I was like, that's robbery. You robbed me of my choice, because in the pods, like all factors are at play, and I was so caught off guard. We talked from like 11 until 4 a.m. about the situation, but I didn't really ask the questions I really wanted to in that moment because of shock and because I was just trying to get around the fact of how we had all of these kids conversations and this is happening to me. And I also was kind of like, oh no, And
Do you remember like when you asked him like, what do you have kids? And you just stood there. What were the first words out of his mouth in terms of, well, how did he actually describe his situation?
He was like, well, yes. And I was like, how many? And he was 3. And he said, I was a sperm donor for, a lesbian couple. And at that conversation, we didn't deep dive into like, to what capacity, right? And so I, again, wasn't asking the right questions in that moment. I mainly was just trying to figure out how he lied. Omission is a lie. Let's be clear about that. And I remember just being hurt by all of it because I just didn't know. Because even if it was just a mere sperm donor situation at the time, that's still something I should have known, right? So from there, he was saying he doesn't want to talk about it on camera, or, he doesn't want to hurt that family or like have people searching for them. Like these kids have to go to school, like whatever. So I'm like, there's no way I can continue in this experiment if we don't talk about this in some capacity, because I've been giddy the entire time and my energy is this low right now. The viewers are going to see it. When you meet my friends, they're going to see it. They know me. We have to talk about it in some capacity. So the next day I leave, I get my stuff, I move back home to my own apartment. They are like, come back and just have the conversation to whatever way you guys feel comfortable on camera.
Did you like reach out to production and be like, hey, just so you know this happened?
Tyler did.
Okay.
Yeah, he reached out to our producer.
Did they have any clue at all, or did he like? What do you know about?
They didn't say if they did or didn't.
Gotcha.
They didn't say if they did or didn't. He more so was like, this is what I told her, and this is what's happening, and she's like leaving me, is what to his knowledge. And so we come back and we have a second conversation about it, kind of like on camera. Right. And we hit the first one to where I'm shocked, and everyone's like, oh, she's so calm, she's so gracious. I'm like, yeah, because the night before was a little different, right? And
like
now I have time to.
How angry were you? Like,
I was pissed.
Rightfully so.
Because everyone, like, honestly, there's another guy, which sounds so shallow of me, but there's another guy in the pods that had a kid, and I knew that wasn't what I wanted for my life. So I didn't even consider him. Right. Granted, I didn't have a connection with him. Even if I did, I don't know if I would have done it.
Yeah, and his answer, at least at the beginning of assume you'd agree, was a bit of a cop-out to like say, well, I don't want to talk about this on camera. I don't want people searching for them. It's just like, why don't you think about that before you showed up?
Yeah. And it's like, well, even if we don't mention it on camera, they're gonna find it.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them. You can't hide. Like, you cannot hide. They're gonna find it. So
I was about to say, I just remember I think it was the reveal when he was like, people are going to start coming out of the woodworks and saying stuff about us. Did that?
So ironically, that's funny because people are like, he tried to warn her. He tried to warn her. He alluded to that. That was my question, actually. I asked him, if I were to sit down with your ex right now, or flings or people you dated, what would they say about you? Because for 2 reasons. One,
good question.
I want to see if I can see remnants of that behavior and begin to look for it. Not that I'm searching for it, but just to begin to pay attention. And 2, I want to see how you're going to answer, because it's a red flag when men blame everything on a woman.
Yeah, well, she was crazy.
So for me, it was refreshing for him to say, like, yeah, they probably will say I wasn't the best. And he's been vocal about that. Like, I wasn't the best dating at all. And so for me, that wasn't a red flag.
It's a great question. And any healthy person who has a past, who gets asked that question, should be able to point out a couple of annoying things they do that every ex they've ever had has brought up.
100%.
And it's more like, hey, these are my annoying habits. They aren't necessarily things that you need to, you could be insecure about them because they're probably bad habits you haven't figured out yet, but they're not they shouldn't be like non-negotiables that like people leave you for. But that's a great question to see how self-aware someone is and how much they've learned about who they were in relationships. And if they don't have it
offline, he shows me pictures. That was more questions for me. Yeah, even my mom was just like, this is a very sticky situation, Ashley. So how you guys approach it needs to be, right? Because she's like, they will taunt these kids in this family if they want more, more information. I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, if it does come out and I don't talk about it, they'll think I'm shocked, which they end up thinking, I don't know, like why they think I wouldn't know this. But regardless, I felt it had to be said in a way. So it was hard for me to navigate. I'm just so used to being very transparent that it was hard for me to navigate that conversation too, to try to make sure I didn't divulge anything. Like he said, there are 3 of them as a lesbian couple, like, whatever. Offline, he shows me pictures. That was more questions for me. And as I began to talk to him, his friends, his mom, and his family, is when I began to get a fuller picture of what was actually going on. And that's when I found out that, the ex-wife had left and Tyler stepped in, which the ex-wife's name is on the son's birth certificate. I've never seen the twins' birth certificate. And when the ex-wife left, she was pregnant with the twins. And Tyler grew up without a father. His father's like dying of bone cancer. He wasn't even invited to our wedding. And Tyler's like, when I gave my sperm, I gave it to a family, not for you to be a single mom. And that's when he jumped in. And for me, I guess the reason that it was easier for me to understand what's talking to friends and him and, going deeper is my godbrother's gay. He's in my wedding, his bridesman. And, at one point when I didn't know how my life was going, we laughed.
There's something she just said that stuck out to me. I mean, and there was a lot of judgment in the situation, and like watching Themis last night and all the things he was saying that he feels about her conduct and like her mindset and this and that and the other, that made that last statement just stick out to me, even though she was referring to like Tyler saying, oh, I didn't let you have these kids of mine so that you could be a single mom or whatever like that. But or whatever she just said about single mom, but it just made me think of what he was talking about in terms of her judgments of the woman and the woman's, orientation and lifestyle and all those other things. I'm not saying that she feels a certain way about it, but I just wanted to bring that up because I remember he was talking about it, and that was something I hadn't really considered. I mean, like I said, her talking about the kids in the way she was bad enough, but like that was something else I hadn't considered.
And joke about it. I could never do that. I could never donate my eggs to a close person because if it comes out looking like me or something, I couldn't be around. Right. Whereas Tyler did. He was around for holidays, and for me, that's how my godbrother is. He's at every holiday, everything with me. So he was around. He let them call it. They knew him as their bio dad, and it's very taboo and very odd to think about. But I don't think there's any rule book to how adoption, sperm donation, or egg donation should go. I do think that it was a mistake on his behalf to blur those lines so heavily because of the kids, not even just the woman, but the kids. And I know she wanted him to mainly be a part for the boy, mainly not even the girl. You very rarely see him with the girls here and there. It's mainly the boy. And Tyler stepped up, and he was like, "Sure, I'll be their dad." He's like picking up from daycare sometimes. Like, they're friends. They live in the same building. Yeah, they lived in the same building. On top of that,
when we tell the story, I mean, the only thing that I think is probably surprised.
So this is where I'm, because I haven't rewatched this. Like I just found this, and then I found about time when they started talking about this situation, and then I stopped it to do this so that I could watch it with you guys. But this is where it's starting to be a discrepancy, because I could have swore that she was saying on this recent interview that her understanding was that he was never their father and they never knew. And that was part of the reason she was so upset. Am I tripping? Am I tripping? Y'all let me know. We can continue, but I'm just saying I could have sworn in this recent interview that she was talking about the part of the upset and the uproar and everything was the fact that she was completely unaware that he ever, was playing the role of a father for those kids. And she even mentioned something in here about Christmas. And she was saying like, oh, she had to go and find the pictures of him at Christmas and stuff. Am I tripping? Did anybody else watch this that recent thing? I might have to go and pull it up a little later after we get through this. I don't know if I feel like it. But I could have swore she said that.
Hard for people to grasp. Even me, it's just more like kind of like what a beautiful story, and as opposed to like being afraid to share it. Why not be proud of what he stepped up and what he's doing? Especially like Love Is Blind. What a great story! Like, I mean, you would think that even producers would love that about him if they knew about it. But yeah, why was he so insecure about that getting out?
So 100%. And for me, like when I specifically seen the boy, it like kind of broke my heart a little bit because he looks a lot like him, and I just like loved him immediately through a picture because I love Tyler so much. So it was very awkward for me to navigate as well. But this is the reason why. It came a point where Tyler, so a lot of the pictures, they're younger, like whatever. He was never, ever, ever around on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. There were times he wouldn't see them at all. Like he lived in Arlington. They've never been to his apartment, like things like that. He tried to back and like back off at certain points. And I know that she wanted him present, and he was trying to navigate like how to be there for them and also be her friend as well. And like they were in the army together. Like I said, this is not just a stranger. And so I think it's hard for people to digest too, because in a normal sperm donor situation, I mean, you can pick and choose your involvement, but most of the time you aren't that involved unless it is like a sister or like a friend or whomever. Right. So he came to a point where whenever she would be in a new relationship, woman, she wants to have a family with women. Yeah. And he would always be on the outside looking rights. He can't say where they go to school. He can't say anything. He can't discipline. He can't do anything. So to him, he's like, I pop up and I'm an uncle and I play with them. I'm a Kiki. I wear these dad t-shirts that your grandma, her mom is giving me, and put on this face, but this is not my family. I put myself in this very uncomfortable situation. And that's why I tell people, I think he was a good guy that got too deep and didn't know what to do next. Mm-hmm. So when he finally decided to cut the situation off, of course it's awkward and it hurts him as well to know about the kids, but he felt like it was better to do it now than to wait any longer. And he's like, I want my own family. Like I want my own things. Whereas she's probably like, well, damn, like you were around, why do this now? They just have two different perspectives, I would say. And I think that even Tyler's friends and parents. And again, it's kind of a little difficult for me to talk about this because I wasn't there. Right. I'm only going off of the things that I know and the things I'm trusting. And if anything ever comes out differently, I'll do like a Risa Tisa and give you guys but I'm just going. I'm just yeah. And so they basically said the same thing. Like, yeah, he was around. He let him calm down, but like they were young, like whatever. And he just didn't feel like that was his family. And again, it looks bad, but if you realize it's always holidays, it's always an event, it's always something. Like he's around on the floor playing with them. It's never like an intimate moment with these kids. It is. He was always supposed to be an uncle, and even the ex-wife said it. And then it's the thing about like, oh,
she said never supposed to be an intimate moment with these kids. Well, isn't that what holidays and making memories and stuff? Like this isn't, mind you, this is in hindsight. And again, I'm trying to reconcile this with the narrative that she has now and she's speaking about now. This man was involved, and it just feels like the way she's talking about it now is just like she was blindsided about their existence. Yes, for true. But the way that he was talking about it is like she was saying that he was like, oh yeah, I never, but this don't sound to me, this does not sound like what she's describing now. Like it sounds like he was very much so involved in their life in a familial way, and that the kids were aware that this was their father. The way she talks about it today is like she was of the belief that they didn't know that this was their father. And I could, like I said, I'm kind of passively, I'm assuming I'm passively watching it because I didn't watch the show. But am I the only person that feels that way? It says to be involved and then ghost your own kids is so, but it is. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm not understand. Even what she's describing right now to me does not feel or sound like what I'm talking about right now. What we're watching right now does not feel or sound like what she was describing in that thing that we watched the other day. Like it feels like a completely different, because it feels like when she talked about it the other day, it's like, oh yeah, like I didn't have any reason whatsoever to believe he could have even been lying. And it's like, this sounds really loosey-goosey here, what we're hearing right here. But give me a second. I'll be right back. I gotta do something for my baby girl, and then I'll be back. Give me like 2 to 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back. All right. Sorry.
Sleeping with her. It's like, what are you trying? Like, what is going on?
Right.
There's so many
Yeah.
false narratives.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense in the context you provided. I mean, just thinking about it as a new dad, I couldn't imagine what, like, here he is. He probably made a decision, again, out of the goodness of his heart. Maybe didn't even think it's true. I don't think any guy who gives away their sperm, they're probably not even thinking about
It's pretty
what's going.
No,
Yeah, like, what's
men
going to
don't have
happen.
women in that way either.
Yeah,
No,
I think
like,
I remember when I was in college, like I never did, but I remember being like, I need a few bucks, let's do that. And then I remember being, wait, like, but if I did that, like, but I, you kind of get close to thinking, what's the big deal?
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden he becomes this father. The situation happens. He's asked to be a part of it, but he, like you said, he has no rights.
No rights.
No rights to really put his input in. So what a weird situation to try to even navigate. I can imagine the challenge of like, what is my role here?
I will say she wrote me on Instagram and apologized to me and Tyler and said she's praying for us and she never meant for it to go this way. And she won't say too much on this forum.
Didn't
Is
she
this
make
the
a
same
public
person?
statement?
Yeah.
She made a public statement and then deleted everything.
It was at the public statement that was like saying how she doesn't know why Tyler is
And then
talking
posted a
about
bunch of photos of him with the kids.
Yep, that's that one. Yep. But she also wrote me and apologized and said that, like, it's completely understandable if I never want to respond. And, she shared my world is crazy right now. She never intentionally meant to cause me any pain. Like, she won't say too much in this message. But yeah. And so I'm like, well, you're kind of causing it too, because you came out there and did that. But I did welcome the message. I told her, I'm surprised, but I welcome this.
Yeah.
Because regardless if we never talk to you or the kids again, like, it's still a thing. And so I wouldn't mind having a sit down with you. Like, I want to know what the motive is here. Like, even his mom, like, when I talked to her, she's like, it is exactly what he's saying. And it used to be so uncomfortable for her.
Yeah.
So now she's saying, what's the motive here? I mean, I can understand from the perspective of you coming in, this is not your situation, and she was lied to. You know what I mean? And now she's saying even the mom is like, oh yeah, girl, we don't know. Which more than likely, they just was probably looking for what she was looking for, which is a more picture perfect, and him was a more picture perfect situation. But and I'm not trying to make her wrong. But like I said, the only part of it I didn't like was that after a while, and I think probably more and more information was trickling out, and more and less of an opportunity for him to be able to like try to hide and spin the story, that she probably just got angrier and angrier at him and herself. And now she's in public and she didn't know how to navigate the situation while still maintaining the veneer. Because the things that she was saying in the more recent interview were very telling in terms of her self-image. And so being able and willing to say, you know what, he got me, and I really just wanted to be and stay married and this and that and the other, to let it be messy without just making it just them. Like, it's not her fault that she picked him, because she picked him based off of what she knew of him, right? But once she knew the situation, I think that there was a lot of guilt and stuff within her and conflict within her about what it said about her, that she was off-putting onto the children and the other people involved. Sally Jo said, no, she's too big a girl for this. I agree. I'm not saying she's not. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to understand. She was lied to during the engagement. She could have not went through the process. She jumped out the plane into his mess, asking the mother of his kids what the motive. Yeah, like what kind of statement is that? The motive is these are his kids, and I don't like him lying on them. I don't want them to be lied on. What? And I don't want to be lied on. It says she found out before they married and still did it. So it was her. Okay, yeah, because I didn't watch the show, and I couldn't remember exactly like when what happened. But basically, like I said, it seems like she thought she had a bird in the hand, and she wasn't ready to just cut her losses. And so she chose to move forward. And I feel like the anger that she probably felt at herself more so than anybody for not just cutting her losses when the shit hit the fan, she started offsetting onto the children, who are the only people I'm really concerned about at this point. I don't care about the mama. I don't care about him, right? I didn't like the way she was off-putting that negative energy onto the children instead of just going, you know what, girl? Just let it go. You got, had. You could let it go at this moment. She just kept going and digging her heels in. And the longer it went on, the more, because this right here is before, the reunion. Because that's what they were saying in the beginning during part of the parts that I skipped to get to these parts. This was before the reunion. Like, she wasn't even walking around wearing her ring. So I feel like what we saw where she was really being nasty was the reunion. And it was at the reunion. By the time they were at the reunion and they were married, I think by that time she was really angry at herself, because now she's not in the same level of denial where she is here. It's be mad at him, then the kids are the only in it. Right. That's exactly how I feel. That's the only reason I'm talking about this, is because of the children.
Yeah.
You know, because she posts all her grandkids. And so it's like, what do I do? She's seen them maybe twice.
Wow.
You know, they don't know her in the way that people are trying. She's reposting pictures and things like that. I think that, again, if you have met Tyler for 5 minutes, this is the thing that really gets me, is the assassination of his character. And I'm not here to defend him. I have to say this.
Right. It said, you said, Sally Jo said, I don't think she cares about anything but being married and performing the wife role. I don't think she has genuine feelings, regrets. No, that's what I feel like what we saw coming out towards the children was, and the children specifically, because it's like, oh, you used to mess with that girl, whoever, I'm the wife now, doesn't matter. But these children, and the way people view children, and the way children are mementos and albatrosses to a lot of people that bind them to failed relationships, that bind them to, you know, stuff that they wanted to work out a certain way that didn't, that bind them to their personal, you know, failures and weaknesses and all that other type of stuff. And so unfortunately, because they're innocent, and because we live in a society that is so apt to discard, you know, bastards and non-legitimate and blah, 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 that people will be ready, people you would think would have it more together, are perfectly ready, willing, and able to do it. And it's perfectly socially acceptable, because, oh yeah, they're the have-nots. They're the low class ones. You know what I mean? They don't deserve consideration. They don't deserve to be thought of as human beings. And so, yeah, she had a particular vision of what her life was supposed to look like and the part that he was supposed to play. And so she was trying to salvage this. And the first choice she made, against her, you know, better judgment and everything, was continuing on in this relationship with him. And so then once she decided that she had linked her identity of being a smart woman and an accomplished woman and a desirable woman and a wife and all that stuff, it was too close to her grasp for her to be willing to give it up. But these kids, these men, like we said, the guy said last, like, these meddling kids was the, you know, the monkey wrench in the cogs of the machinations of her self-actualizing. That was her aspiration to self-actualize in this way. They were the reason that she couldn't have what she wanted in the way that she wanted it, and she was angry at them. Ashley could have stayed out of it. She could have simply, I know, but I don't know what happened before me, and it's not my place to speak. Yes, but the thing is, she had to salvage her reputation. All the stuff she was saying in the most recent interview, you could tell that is very important to her. She was saying like, oh yes, I don't really need therapy. And oh yes, I'm such a smart person. And it was all her ego. And so her ego would not have allowed her to just say, hey, you know what? I picked a messy man and a messy situation and it's messy. No, she had to, because even now what I stopped it at, she's going into defending his character. And I don't like the way he's being dragged and you know what I mean? She doesn't think she did anything wrong. She's still feeling to be married a dodo bird. She was married here too. Yes, she was married here, but nobody else knew because this was prior to in the beginning of this, they said like, you don't have the ring on. She said, yeah, because they haven't aired the reunion yet. So people don't know or whatever it was. Like people didn't know yet. So she was trying to keep the secret. For someone who's so concerned about her image, she sure did ruin it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Unfortunately, this could happen and does happen to many people all the time, but it's more so about how do you handle something like this. And there is a lot of shame tied to it. Like, I don't feel like what happened in her situation is very much different than women who wind up having a baby by someone, whether they're married or not. and then find out who that person really is in a way that you don't or can't find out until you're kind of past the point of no return or whatever. And or women who come into situations fully knowing that a man has children, probably knowing that the man does not take care of those children, but they believe that they're such a woman that he's going to be different for them. And then you'll see how they act towards, these other children or the other mothers or whatever. And it's really more so about you couldn't grapple with the fact that your choices and who you are as a person brought you here and what it is you are desiring and how you're going about it. And like these things brought you here. And it isn't even so much a thing like you need a full overhaul, but sometimes like we need to sit back and do the work of like, okay, why am I going for this? And why am I going for this so hard that I'm willing to accept it under these conditions? It says, yep, she's playing the good right. Yeah, she was Olivia Pope in it.
If you meet him for 5 minutes, you would see how genuine he is. He's a people pleaser, and I hate that about him.
Mm-hmm. And we had him on Zoom.
Really
I could tell
he
through
really
the
is.
Zoom.
And it's not a good trait to me because you will sacrifice yourself for other people, and that's why.
See, so this is the narrative that, oh, he's just such a people pleaser. And really, I have to stand up and tell him, like, no, don't do that because he's just trying to people please and they're taking advantage of him. They're taking advantage of my husband.
Why he's hurt and shocked by what the mom is doing.
Right.
Did he have any conversations with her post filming?
No. So when he decided to cut ties, she was upset.
So before he went in and filmed Love Is Blind, he had cut ties with her.
100%.
I didn't realize that.
100%. And
I'm sorry. Something rubs me the wrong way about her seeing her behind up on this thing. And Thema said it, she threw herself in front of him, right? But something rubbed me the wrong way about her sitting up on this thing and basically giving gossip and hearsay. Why the hell can't he say this stuff? Why the hell can't he tell the story? I'm not understanding. I'm not even understanding how this happened. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. And even if she's there to talk with him, like I said, if he was there too and they're both there, that's somewhat better. But like, why are you the one telling his story? It says people pleasing your way into 3 children doesn't even sound right. First of all, you tell exactly, like, if that's really what you believed about this man, that he people please his way, then what do you want to do, when we're married? Because to me, then that means you'll people please your way into like stressing me out when your mom comes and wants you to behave a certain way. Like, I can't rely on you to be your own person is what I'm saying. That's what that gives. I can't rely on you to be your own person. You see what kind of headaches women be going through when their husbands are quote unquote people pleasers, or their husbands, just let other women in general run over them. So either way, even if he was telling the truth, this still you would have been miserable regardless.
And he had a conversation with her. I don't know the exact time frame, let's say a year or two before, when he started slowing down and, coming around, and basically said something along the lines of, I just don't have a connection with these kids. And she's hurt because she's like, well, why? Why don't you? Because they're still kind of your kids. Like, why don't you have a connection? He's like, this is your family and this is what I originally signed for. I know I stepped in to try to help. I know I said I'd be there for the twins. You were by yourself, and twins made it worse, And so biologically, these are still his kids. So he feels a certain way. But he's like, I can't do this. And she's like, why? She was disappointed. And I can see, why she was disappointed as well. But he's like, I just don't want to have any connection with you or them, because if I talk to you, although you've been my long-term friend, there's no way I wouldn't be able to not talk to the kids. And I think it's best if I remove myself.
Did she only want him involved once her ex-wife left?
I think he was involved around, like even the ex-wife kind of said, like he was around, but kind of in like an uncle capacity. And I don't think that, she wanted him around as much. Like
the way she's talking about this, like she was there, like they were together when this situation was happening. You get what I'm saying? Like that's what's kind of like making me uneasy because, girl, I get that he told you this, but you talking like, oh yeah, this is what he did. You don't know. You weren't there. He could have told it himself. He could have told his own story himself. It was so ghetto. And I think that's why she was trying to class it up to her standards. As much as one could, something like this. I said, why are you speaking on a situation? Telling a story that you were not directly involved in it. That's what I'm saying. And it's not even just the fact that she's telling the story. She's telling the story like, oh yeah, this is what happened. You weren't there. You don't know. You don't know.
Like even when she got divorced, she had to fight for custody, and that's when Tyler went for the sperm donor mom's like side and basically was like against her to make sure that that woman could keep all of her kids and that the ex-wife couldn't take the kids. I think she wanted him in a bigger capacity when she left. I'll say that. It's not that he wasn't around before that, he was, but she wanted him around in a bigger capacity because now she's by herself, which sucks. And now she's engaged and with a whole other woman.
So it's time.
So there's that.
So
They scrubbed that Instagram too. So they're not the only one scrubbing.
So right now, I mean, before we got into his ex, well, not even his ex, his ex-friend, I can now understand why Tyler did what he did, how you responded, and even why the show, the way it's aired, didn't do you guys any favors because it looks like he is not being forthcoming. Like we're still watching it now, kind of like, what is the truth?
Yeah.
You know, on that aspect.
He wasn't forthcoming. I know this is at the time, but she's trying to make it seem like he was. But he wasn't forthcoming.
I appreciate why even her is also confused by how it's aired. But what I am confused about is that it seems like you guys have had some interactions and she knows why. If she got the heads up in terms of like what she might expect, once you guys talked about it, how much did Tyler anticipate this being a topic that's aired?
So a topic that's aired on the show?
Yeah. Because once it was aired, you would think that she would respond to it.
So ironically, we knew it would be mentioned, but I always knew this would be a big thing once it aired. Even if he was just a regular sperm donor, like I knew, and it wasn't like blurred lines, I knew it would be a big thing because humanity has trouble comprehending and understanding anything taboo or out of their norm. So I was the one saying, she's coming. I guarantee you when he's like, she would never do that. She would never do that. So there was no conversation with her or anything. Like because I was like, maybe reach out. I know that y'all are in the best terms, and maybe reach out to say, hey, this is coming out. So like we couldn't even do that.
Who do you think put it out for the world to see? Because it came from
The grandma.
somewhere. You think it was?
No, it did. She came up with the whole TikTok of all pictures of Tyler. And I, again, am repeating what I know. The grandma is like, you'll never see pictures of, I'll say it this way, you'll never see pictures of her daughter with her wife or with her LGBTQIA partner, ever. So that's where the dad t-shirts and dad's son come at play. And this is what I've seen my firsthand, and this is what I've heard from people who know both parties. Because they were in armies, they have mutual army friends. She never liked that about.
She didn't accept that about her daughter. It doesn't seem like.
So now their videos like, that's your dad. You know who that is? You know who you're playing with? That's your dad. Right?
So grandma's projecting.
And I genuinely feel like, and if Bri ever sees this, like, I think that that's why the sperm donor mom reached out to me and apologized, because I think she's in an uncomfortable situation of feeling like people are adding pressure on her to be this person that I don't think she is.
Right.
If Tyler's a bad guy, why would you want to do it again? You know, why? That'd be a mistake. It's like you sleep with the guy once and it's a mistake. You don't, I mean, maybe sometimes you go back, but a kid is a whole different thing. Yeah, you try not to make that same mistake.
What else is she saying about him?
Oh, the sperm donor mom?
Yeah, sperm donor mom. Yeah, what's
sperm donor mom?
I don't know. It was just that one thing, and then she reached out and she apologized, and Tyler was, honestly, that was the hardest part, is just seeing Tyler struggle during a time that should have been just about our love story. So I think once she apologized, she kind of felt bad, and like she seemed that, you know, and I said, like, yes, getting beat up on social media is never fun, is what I told her.
So they've both apologized, the grandma and
No, no, just her. She apologized, the only, not even Tyler.
Grandma's not apologizing.
No, grandma's not going to apologize.
Is grandma still posting?
No, she apparently made her page private, and because Tyler had a really, really bad day, and it was a really, really hard time. And I know that Tyler reached out to Bri in that second from the dog's page, because he's blocked.
Wait, who's this again?
Our dog's page. So our dog Kobe has an Instagram page. I reached out to the sperm donor mom on the dog page and basically was like, look, like, what are you doing? Like, stop this. And I guess she was concerned with like him being attacked, you know, and then she deleted everything, which was appreciative, but at the same time, everyone already has it.
It's already out there.
Yeah, it's social media, like it's 5 seconds, and you know.
Grandma intentionally did exactly what Tyler was trying to prevent from happening, which is like, you're exposing your kids, you're exposing your daughter, you're making this entire thing about yourself, and you're not gonna have to deal with any of the repercussions of it.
Nope, none, and it's cloudy. The thing about Tyler too, that he kept saying that I kind of was like, okay, actually show a little sympathy, even though I was pissed, is like, he's like, I've done enough. Like I've already like, eventually the kids will probably forget me, but like, I don't want to do anything else to this family. So like, I don't want to really talk about this, Ashley, but I will, because I want you. But like, and I don't want you to do this experiment. But at the same time, I don't want to go into deep. So that's why I also kind of am sitting there and contemplating and thinking as I'm talking in those scenes that you see, because I don't know what I'm allowed to say. And the very thing that we try to avoid happened. I mean, the kid's birth certificate is online. It's sick. So the very people who are creating.
It just occurred to me when she was talking about how he was, I've done enough. And I get what he's saying. Like, I've done enough. I'm guessing the context is he was saying like he's done enough harm. But I feel like it's just so interesting to me how men will use other women to try to like erase their past. You know what I mean? Like they'll have situations with kids and stuff like that, and they'll go to another woman and they look to women. That's why I don't make a habit, or I never made a habit of like giving men a comfortable ear or a warm bosom to cry on when it came to something that was going wrong with their kids. Because if I ask you certain questions and you don't give me the right answers in terms of about what you're trying to do to rectify the situation for yourself, then I don't have no sympathy for you. You know what I mean? So it's like,
TikTok with their false journalism. TikTok, I just got a TikTok for the first time, and I wish I never had it.
No, it's people.
It's a whole new world.
People spread rumors, and they're like, "It's called journalism."
It's law, right? It's law now because someone sent you a screenshot with the contact name Tyler. I can do that right now. I could do. I can say, "Tell my
And it's
godsister,
Toby.
text me, right? Text me some stuff right now so I can make it look like and put their contact name. Show me the number, blur it out, right?
Mhm.
So that.
I know you lying. I know you lying. He said that, and she. As much money as people have, and mind you, I'm never was ever planning on doing this. As much money as people talk about having, to be able to keep eggs and stuff, and she thought, oh, he could just. Do you know how many people more? They wouldn't be able to charge so much for something like that if that's all you had to do. Is all I'm gonna say. And the thing is, she's someone who speaks or acts, it seems, as if she knows opulence and this and that and the other, and high society, upper crust type things. So you trying to tell me that you ain't know that was some BS? Because even my poor ass knows that BS. She said that's not real. Of course he would say something like that there. Of course. And I bet you Laterius was like, yes.
That's that. And people take the TikTok journalism and run with it. Now people are writing me like, girl, have you seen? Who do you think has a better view on what the hell is going on? You or me?
Ooh.
This is a year later.
Yeah.
And frankly, no matter what he came with, when I said I do to all of it.
Right.
That's what marriage is. And we're in a generation where unconditional love is not a thing. And there are conditions with people. And to me, when they haven't found their person and it shows.
Yeah.
I get it. I think people want to paint him to be this stereotypical man who's like a piece of shit.
Mhm.
And it's like, sorry, that's just not who he is today.
And she knows it.
And
They know it,
unfortunately,
yeah.
a lot of the people who watch the show aren't watching from a lens of rooting for love.
Absolutely not.
They're watching through the lens of every fucking person's like my ex.
Yep.
And they're all pieces of shit, whoever these people are. And so, yes, it's a little bit of that.
Even when they loved us, remember that moment? When they loved us. Like, we still have like 50% that love us, but like, when they loved us and they were like, oh, Ashley and Tyler for like OG 90s love and early 2000s, I'm kicking my feet on the wall, like, all of that, they still were like, something's wrong with them. We're going to find it.
Well,
It's too good to be true,
And that, I'm a little bit like that. I mean, the too good to be true stuff, the praying every night, when I see stuff like that, I'm like.
And also, that was me. Tyler is the kind of person, I also want to say that I am the one, not that Tyler doesn't have his own faith, but I am the one with.
You led that.
I led it. And we talked about it in the positive. It wasn't shown, but like about how important my faith is with me. He was like, he doesn't know, how to pray sometimes. And I was like, there's no right way to pray. You just have to start. And so that's why it looked like we're doing it so much, because I was trying to get him to feel comfortable around me and to be intimate in that way.
That was him doing something that he knew was important to you.
100%.
And then he was taking the initiative as okay.
That just makes so much more
way more
sense.
context, yeah.
100%.
There's got to be a study or something somewhere about how this Christian identity leads people to be cruel. Leads people to be quite cruel.
Because it kind of comes across potentially as performative. Because you never really know early on. When you see something early on that may be too good to be true, we just wonder if it is.
Yeah, one of his friends, Oliver, after the wedding, came up to me and said something along the lines of, I wanted to say thank you. This was a beautiful wedding, beautiful reception. He was like, I just wanted to say also thank you for helping lead Tyler, back to God. And like, that was always important to me as a friend who was in the Army as well. And he was like, me and Tyler would have conversations about that. But he, I don't know if he was comfortable enough speaking the way he does now. And so I was like, oh, that was a compliment to me. And I love that he said that. So yeah.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and the first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again.
I want to jump a little bit to your relationship with your father.
I'm so happy to talk about this.
You kind of open up on wedding day when you're talking to your grandma. And
Okay, so I don't care about that. I don't care about that at all. But I think I might go looking for, how do I get out of this? I might go looking for her talking on the Love is Blind reunion. Give me a second. I wasn't planning on it before. I wasn't planning on watching this, but I'm curious. I want to see, unless they scrubbed it and took it down, which would be crazy because everybody want to watch it. I think they did though, because I was trying to find some stuff the other day and I couldn't find it. I'm just seeing like clips of Entertainment Tonight and stuff like that. Does anybody Does anybody else have the reunion? Hold on, reunion. Yeah, it's just clips. It's not and freaking Lateris, and I will never watch him. Yeah, man, I can't find a reunion. I wonder why. Especially if they done backed. I would think they would still. I mean, maybe that was part of the deal. I would think that they would still want to. I'm talking about the Love Is Blind franchise. Still have that up, especially with them if they were the ones that are backing AD's show. That they would still want to have that stuff up, for the clicks or whatever. Oh no, yeah, that baby looked just like him. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I don't see it. It said if you played, oh yeah, right. If you played, they might snatch your video. You're right. You're right. What if I had just played like the sound of it? Imagine if her dad was running around talking about her and her mom, like, look, 3 White Walkers asking. That was creeping me out too. Like, why you got all these white people sitting around you talking to you about that? Absolute depravity is Christian theology that all people are garbage by default. Listen. Yeah, listen, it was very reminiscent of me. It wasn't surprising to me at all that she was behaving in the way she was, because like I said, people tend to feel like kids are expendable in that way when they are inconveniences to these happily ever afters that women seem to want to have or believe that they can have with men with children that already have children. And so for me, that was really all I didn't appreciate. And it kept me from feeling bad for her in a lot of ways, because it's just like, you don't have to be so angry. Now, like I said, this interview that we just watched, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I saw. But by the time they got to the reunion, which I can't seem to find, she was just like, it was palpable. It was seething anger. You know what I mean? I'm looking for something. Oh yeah, there it is. I just wanted to make sure I had it for later. Hi, and you know what I'm gonna do? Where is it? I'm going to put this link in the chat. Oh, I don't care if it could post to some channels or not. I'll put this link in the chat if anybody wants to come up and talk about it, because yeah, I didn't watch the show. I would love to get like some more insight. I didn't watch the show. I just saw this stuff, like I said, in passing when people were talking. Lord, they was watching Jessie Woo, and Jessie Woo was, her bread and butter was this when it was happening. But she did some really great commentary on it. She got in down with it. Her and the other girl, the investigative. Oh yeah, they had the baby mom on the show and everything. But then yeah, this discussion, it went from her just acting like, oh yeah, the lady, I forgot the part about the grandmom though. Like it was the grandmom that ultimately brought it to the forefront. I forgot that part. And I bet you he knew. Because ain't no way you didn't know these people, right? And then now, because I kind of want, now I'm being nosy, I kind of want her, she was alluding to all this information she had. So for her to sit and talk about how his mom confirmed his lies, basically that, oh, he wasn't involved and it wasn't even that serious and those wasn't really technically her grandkids or whatever like that. Like, I want to know why we know why the moms be doing what they do, boy moms and stuff. But I really kind of want to know the backstory on that, because she didn't mention the mom anymore. You know what I mean? She's solely focused on Tyler and the lady, which is as she should. focus on them. But I kind of want to know like how she feel about the mom now too, knowing that everything was just absolutely a lie. That's really wild that the mom would just be like, "Oh yeah, Tyler, blah 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 blah." But yeah, that's really all I had. Unless anybody wants to come up, I do have one something else to share to talk about. We might wind up being here a whole nother hour. We'll be talking about it. Let me do the after show thingamajig, and then I'm gonna cancel it. And then I'll go ahead and no, I don't want that. Then I'll go ahead and talk about this other thing. It's kind of related. It's related to like children of failed relationships and the step parents or whatever. So I'll be right back.
Roll smooth with a
Hey, I can't hear you, so I don't know if it's me. Not to interject.
I've been reading out loud this whole I said, and I greeted you and everything. When you started talking, I'm like, why would she start talking over me? Please, Lord, make it make sense. And now the what's the face truck want to come? The ice cream truck want to come past. Okay, sorry. I was reading to y'all. I was. I'm gonna start over. I need to get something off my chest. Yesterday, my stepdaughter graduated and I wasn't invited. I've been in her life since she was 4 months old. Married her mother when she turned 2. I've been there, consistent, showing up, providing, loving her like she was my own. But come graduation day, I wasn't given a seat. Like word eye. They told me there were only 8 tickets. Let me tell you who made the list. My wife, her 2 sisters, her biological dad, her uncle, her grandma, her aunt, and her boyfriend. Wait a minute, who's her aunt and her 2 sisters? Or maybe the girl's 2 sisters? I don't know. Her boyfriend, 8 tickets. And I wasn't one of them. I've been sitting with that pain all day. I took time off work, 3 days gone. I drive trucks. That's money and time I can't get back. And still I got left out. So today I made some decisions. I removed her from my car and health insurance, took her off everything I've been covering, told her mother since she's grown and graduated, she can go and stay with her father. Um, and her father, the one she made room for over me. Now there's tension in my house. Emotions are high, but I'm standing on what I feel because the truth is I'm so hurt, not just mad, deeply, genuinely hurt. I don't need Sorry. I don't need applause. I just needed to speak my truth. Thanks for listening. So since you came up, thank you for that, by the way. What do you think, 2Ls?
So he wasn't invited or whatever. So that means he just jumps out the window, kick her out the house, just totally disavow her. Like what? And I mean, it's just so much I feel like that's missing from the story. Like, did she know you were going to be in town? Like, I can't imagine that you didn't know that you weren't invited. Like, this feels like the perfect step parent victim, always being like, cast aside. Like, it's such a trope that's not always true. And yeah, you are a step parent, but how? I don't know. I just feel like it's so convenient to make this child out to be the bad person in the situation. Like, yeah, that's just my thoughts.
Okay. Fair enough. I will say, I'll preface it with this. First off, somebody said the page name is sus. Yeah, the page name is sus. It does seem to be Facebook, so that's also sus. It may just be clickbait or whatever, rage bait, whatever it is. So I'm going to say that much, right? What we know why his crazy self wasn't. Everybody keeps saying it, and I know y'all gonna throw tomatoes at me, and that's fine. I don't see it that way. And mind you, so when I was younger, my baby father, I needed him to be my ride for like a medical thing. And we were using my car. But I needed somebody to drive, after I was finished. So he did that. He was with me, and then we were riding back to his house so that I could drop him off and then we could go. And somehow we got into this conversation about like if I were to have a man. And I was just talking about like, oh, I need to get myself together. I think I'm ready to settle down, blah, 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 blah. Not talking about him. He made it clear he didn't want to be with me. So I was not at all talking about him. I was just kind of riffing, thinking, lost in my own thoughts. And he made a point of saying something like, oh, yeah, well, just know he's not going to be doing, like, he started trying to lay out, mind you, this is a hypothetical person that does not exist. Let me take this off the screen. There's a hypothetical person that doesn't exist, but he's just like, oh yeah, well, just know he's not going to be doing this and laying down all these rules for my home and this grown person who, assumably we're going to be the ones paying the bills in the house. He's going to be doing all of that. You witnessed that daggone picture that I did not see until I blew you up. Oh my God. And I was like, wait a minute. I gotta speak up for my hypothetical husband, right? I said, you don't get to do that. That's not your home. You don't get to like circumvent him because he's like, oh yeah, he can't discipline the child. He can't say nothing to our daughter. You gotta call me and basically sit and wait till he come to be able to do. I said, no, I'm not doing that. Not in my home, and I wouldn't do that to no man. You get like that's too much. And I'm not saying that y'all know me. So I ain't talking about, oh, I'm just let some man beat on my child or anything like that, or do anything untoward to my child, but just the general idea that why would I be with someone who, number one, I don't trust their judgment to be able to correct my child if they're doing something wrong in their sight. And then also, depending on what the thing is, how sometimes there's stories of kids being disrespectful to step parents because they know, or they think anyway, that the step parent can't really do anything. And so I'm just like, if this is someone that I love, I respect them, because this is way before I do level up single mom kind of work or anything, but I've just always been someone who's like, I wouldn't put anybody in a position I wouldn't want to be in. And so for me, the way he was describing his expectations of how my household was going to run, it was just like, that's not acceptable. And I would not call anyone in to do that. And I wouldn't let you do that to them. And I wouldn't let our child do that to them. And he got so mad at me that by the time we got to his house, he called his mother and his sisters and this and that and the other, and was just like, hey, don't talk to Kiana. Mind you, I don't have no man, but he's just like, don't talk to Kiana. Don't let her bring his child over to their house. Like he had his family cut me off because I told him that he wouldn't be able to run my household and circumvent the quote unquote man of the house in his own home. And so what I'm saying is, for me, and I am that type of person, and I might be that type of parent because my daughter was doing some stuff around her prom. She used to get them long nails. Her sister had started doing nails, and she would get them long, bad bitch nails with all the little bullshit on them, the little bibs and bobs and trinkets and stuff on them. But then she would complain and say, oh, she couldn't do her chores because her nails were too long. And so it wasn't for her prom just yet, but it was before her prom. And I remember her telling me, don't get them nails so long that you can't do what you're expected to do in this house. So then she went to visit her people or whatever at her aunt's house, and her sister was doing her nails. And she called me, like video time me or whatever. And she was showing me her nails wasn't done yet, or they was almost done, but they was long like I remembered them being long. And I said to her, Saleya, I told you not to get them nails long, blah, 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 blah. And she tried to hit me with oh, well, they're already done. What am I supposed to do? I said, oh, so your sister must be going to pay for your prom. Because I'm that type of, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to play these games. So in that way, I'm kind of with it. Because it's not like she's not.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh, there you
I
go.
came off the screen because my daughter had to move past me, and she didn't need to be seen. So I'm that type of parent, you know what I mean? Just to kind of bring their attention to, remember when your bread is buttered. You get what I'm saying? So in that sense, it's like, I don't know. I feel them.
No. I get that aspect. I get, like, obviously showing, like, not who's boss, but like you said, where your bread is buttered. But it just, for me, it just seems like some information is missing. Like, college graduation, I guess that's the graduation it was. You discuss who's coming because it's limited tickets. So you're like, okay, I gotta account for these people. Even if it's not her directly, the
I'm
child
gonna
having the
stop you right
conversation.
there. Out of 8 tickets, the person that both of the people, whoever has been instrumentally involved in your life, those are the people. That's the first people. You get what I'm saying? That was a lot of family
Yeah.
members, and the boyfriend. And I'm not saying it had
I,
to be the biological father that didn't come. I'm not saying it had to be. I'm saying, yeah, 8 tickets is a lot. If you talking like,
I'm not saying that the number of tickets. What I'm saying is there was a conversation had about who was in attendance. And really and truly, the conversation should start with the mom because she's in the relationship with you, not the child. So nobody discussed who was going to the graduation. I'm only thinking about with my 2
mm-hmm,
graduations. Everybody knew I had 6 tickets. Everybody who I knew was coming, especially because they were coming from out of town
mm-hmm,
anyway, they had to be put on notice. I told my parents, we all had a discussion about who was coming. That's all I'm saying is, like, so there was no conversation about you taking off. The mom never talked to you about how y'all gonna, what the graduation time is, what she's wearing. Like, if she's in the house with you, like, what's I'm just saying, like, what's the other. I feel like there's some things missing. I'm not saying that it's impossible for it to
mm-hmm.
happen. I'm saying that I just kind of seem a little like, well, how did we get here? How did you get excluded if you were the parent in the household and her daddy is elsewhere? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
yeah. Hey, Sally Joe.
Hey, I've never done this before.
Oh, welcome. Thanks for doing it with me.
Oh, no problem. Um, yeah, I uh Wait, someone was speaking, right? I don't want to interrupt.
No, I think you were done 2 L's, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I was done. Hey, Sally Joe.
Hey, I just wanted to say, like, children are their own people, right? And they don't, just with like any other parent or any other family member, like, they don't have to invite you to whatever event that they're having. That's totally their choice. And you have to be able to respect that. If your parenting is where, or if his parenting is where he says it is, right? Like, he would understand that that is just something that you have to respect. Like, they're their own people. They're going to do their own things. And sometimes it's going to frustrate you, but that doesn't mean you like take off their car insurance and their health insurance. Like, that's wild. Like, yeah, all of that is just nasty.
I mean, I hear where you're coming from, and I guess because I had to go on a journey myself as a parent, as a biological parent, where to find that balance of parent versus person, right? And so, in a broader sense of like, oh, parenting, yes, your kids can do what they're able to make their own decisions, yes, but there is also a level of responsibility, at least in my experience and how I raise my children. We are responsible to each other for how we relate to each other. Now, I can go ahead and concede to a certain degree that there may be more to the story than what he told. And typically there is when people are telling them, we're watching a whole thing about somebody spinning a narrative. So I can say I'm not invested in this idea that no, it happened exactly the way he said it, and that's all it is, and there is possible that there's a backstory there, and there's a reason maybe he could have been abusive or something, or just was never nice, or maybe he wasn't as involved as he's saying he's involved. But engaging solely with the information that was given, and I'm not even talking about, because you're saying it's fishy that he didn't know until that day that he wasn't coming. That's fair enough. But for me, as a person, I'm talking about as a person, even if it was discussed weeks before, whatever it was, because I don't think it's so much just the idea that he missed money. It's on top of the fact that he was excluded. The main thing is that he was excluded. So even if he was excluded a week ago, a month ago, whatever it was, that's still the pain point. And for me as a person and as a parent, as a mother, that is something relational between us, and that is something that would need to be addressed, and that is something that I would make adjustments internally, if nothing else, emotionally towards that person for. Because if I'm thinking that we had a certain relationship and you're basically saying, oh no, you're an outsider, that's a lie. And I believe that for a step parent, and I'm saying this as a parent of my own biological children, I would not ask a step parent, and I would not expect a step parent to come into my life and treat my kid like their own child and not hold my child responsible to treat them back. Not because they shouldn't be doing that. If they get with me and I have kids, yes, absolutely, you should be doing that, right? But they're also, just like we expect men and stuff to make decisions and not concessions, but when we're talking about how men treat us in the world because of patriarchy and stuff like that, and we're wanting men to be mindful of those things, I think we also need to be mindful of the fact that it is a sacrifice, and it is something that men have to contend with socially when they choose to step up in that way. I'm not bowing down to no man. I'm not going to bow down, and I'm not going to kiss your ass about it. But I do feel like I would make room for that reality. Does that make sense? Were I to marry or something?
I think it does. But also just like his behavior around the graduation, like, it's not about him. That day is not about him. And now, the conversation and like the feeling around this special day for this kid is going to be, her stepdad crashing out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it also like shouldn't be on the mom or the step daughter or really anyone to like manage his emotions in that way. It's really ridiculous. Like, maybe I'm just mean, but like, no, all of
It's,
this is crazy.
I mean, the thing, and not me going to bat for men, right? I said that on Twitter too. I was like, not y'all got me agreeing with the man. But again, too, I think I need to put out give some context here. I haven't said it in a long time, but I used to always say, I'm a gender person in terms of certain conversations because of the context around the conversations and having to acknowledge the way society treats the genders different. But for my own personal self, I don't gender things. And the reason I don't gender things is so that I can remain as what objective as possible when dealing with, morality and how we treat people and being kind and stuff like that. So for me, I'm not putting that thing, oh, he's a man and this and that and the other, he should be more together or whatever. And I'm not even putting on, oh, well, as a parent, because based off of their logic, he's not a parent. You get what I'm saying? Based off of their logic, he's not a parent. You hear me? So it's like that's how I interact with things. I'm going, and it's not, for me, it's not about matching energy. But even when you see me out here talking to these men and they say something, I say, well, based off of your life, it's an if then thing. I'm an if then person. If this is what the situation is based off of you, then this is how I'm moving. And I'm not gonna say it's not petty, but I will ask you, where does he get any kind of restoration in this? And where is any of his feelings or anything acknowledged in it? How would that look other than just suck it up?
Okay. Maybe okay, I shouldn't laugh at that question. But I don't believe in objectivity. So that's like a whole other like philosophical discussion. But whatever like restoration or like way that he needs to handle his emotions, like that is on him as an adult. Um and yeah, I just don't think that that type of emotional labor, especially for something that is really not, the graduation is not about him, right? So that emotional labor shouldn't be put on anyone else.
I also think that like step parents be lying. Like you heard Ashley talking about the way about those children when people started to criticize her treatment of the children, all of a sudden she's, she is seeing them more humanely. Like I feel like step parents really feel like everything they do needs to have like just them being willing to tolerate the label of step parents decide like deserves a trophy. And a lot of times because of a lot of households having a combined income being their model, this whole I invested in you is really like the mom and the partner's income, which is not saying that he's not investing in the child. But if to what 2L said, I, it's giving you are not telling the whole story, or you don't treat the child in a way that makes the child feel like you're somebody they want to celebrate this moment with, which is literally what happened. And the immediate decision to punish, in my mind, makes like parents get pissed off. And I'm not trying to say that they're not allowed to emote. And like I'm not saying that there isn't like, even if there's a parent child relationship where it's fragile but there's still respect there, right, between the stepfather and everything like that. But I think that that's valid to have boundaries as a stepfather if you want to have those. But if it's so easy for you to pull on this trigger, especially during a graduation season where maybe the child is going off to college, all the above, like this is like you having your hand on this trigger to me is an indicator of the way that you relate to your investment in this child. And as somebody who's had a stepmom that was like an experience, I won't go there. I am just saying that it's not I doubt that a person who's had a healthy I just doubt the story entirely. And we know that these dudes want to have a trophy for being for paying their child support alone. So it is not so far out of pocket for this man to think that just because the money came from some general pool that he's invested so much in this kid. Because most people, most women wouldn't even want that in their house in terms of conflict. Like there has to be a reason why everyone was okay with its man not being there.
That's a good you made a bunch of good points, concern. That's amazing. Like, because that made me think of this thing of like, okay, this more than likely is an indication of how he's acted before. So who knows what he's done before in the house in terms of other things. But the only thing that makes me uncomfortable about the way this situation is looking, like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal for me. Like, you and me have talked about stuff earlier this week about milestones.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and there's another thing going around on Twitter. I didn't clip that one because I didn't feel like it was exactly relevant since we're talking about step parents. But there's another thing going around on Twitter where somebody's saying like, am I the asshole or whatever, or this type of situation where they're giving out a scenario, and it's a 19-year-old girl and she says she's graduating college, and she's saying that her boyfriend is I don't know if she specified he was older or not, but she said he has a child that happens to be graduating preschool at the same time that she's graduating her graduation, and the man told her he's going to his child's graduation, and she was feeling that type of way, but she was saying like, oh, it's not a big deal, the kid's not even going to remember. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, it's convenient for the people who weren't hurt by the thing, or who, you know, want something specific in the situation, to look at this thing that I think we can all objectively say, if it were us, we would be deeply hurt by, to say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I don't want it to come across like I'm discounting his feelings. That's feelings aside. Like I can understand how he would be hurt by not being invited. Totally get that. My question was always, how did we get here? It feels like there's some things missing where there are not conversations had prior to or leading up to the graduation. Who was in attendance and things like that. And I didn't hear him say anything about the bio mom in agreement with what his decision was to take her off. Was this a collective thing? Like, was his wife, her mom, like, oh yeah, I agree, she didn't invite you, she held her ticket, she gave it to who she wanted to give it to, and so I agree that this is the household decision, or the parental decision, whether he's a step parent or not. It just seemed like there was some things missing. I'm like, well, dang, how we get here? Like,
well,
wow.
I would imagine that if even the boyfriend was included, it was probably the daughter. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't be allowed to choose who comes to her day. I'm also not saying that it's not her day, that it is his day. And I want to be clear about something else too. This is yet another reason why I have chosen not to get into relationships, because it's weird to me the way people get into relationships and treat these situations with kids and stuff like that. People's expectations are on both ends, the people with the child and the people without the child. People's expectations are weird. There's always type of situations like this where I feel like there's somebody that's just like out of sync with the reality. I know for me, to have a relationship with a romantic relationship, get married or whatever with someone, I would want everybody to be comfortable. I'm not that type of person. I know I talk, rough about men in a general sense, and I'm going to be rough on a man. But if I felt like I'm going to get in a relationship with somebody to the point where I'm going to build a family with them and blend families or whatever, I wouldn't want to treat them like that. I would want everyone to feel like family. And so for that reason, there are certain things that I wouldn't do, and there's certain things that I wouldn't tolerate that people do and tolerate all the time just to be partnered. So having said that, if this was a situation and like I was him, it wouldn't even be about cutting off this and that and the other. I'm leaving. You get like, I would, if I felt that strongly, I'm just leaving, because I don't see how we come back from that. You took however many years of my life. If that's his perspective, you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I also think that it's like, if you and I are in a relationship where I say to myself that I was a integral part of raising this child. We've been together for quite a while, right? Like, I don't know, none of us know anything about their dynamics in terms of the parent relationship, but in terms of the relationship with the kid, how, like, this man did not take a second to reflect on why that kid would make that choice. He immediately pulled rank on, oh well, I was playing your dad. And I understand that he's entitled to his feelings and that would hurt, but I think that you would never, I mean, I'm not saying that that stepkids can't hold a grudge against you or whatever, and it couldn't hurt, all the above, but ultimately, I think that it is telling that this kid made this choice. And I think that if he was as emotionally available, or as, available as he's saying, that he's invested so much in this child, which we know most of the time these dudes are not investing in their own biological children that much. Like, and I'm not trying to, like, I'm still
Well,
straight.
but
I'm not trying to
at that
say,
point, let's not act like, yeah, they may not invest in their biological kids, but there's plenty of those same men that'll go to the moon and beyond for whoever mama's kids that he could slide up in her cat. You get what I'm saying?
maybe. And okay, so maybe this is a he doesn't value the relationship enough. Either way, like, I am taking a lead from the person who is saying, like, this person who was a essential part of my life is not somebody I want to celebrate this moment with, because for me, the kids' natural reactions and and what they value is very much an indicator. I don't know who would have been knocked off, any cousin, auntie, or whatever. But it's just one of those of, like, if some kids most of the time are appreciative of the people who invest in them. So, knowing what I know about men, I find it difficult to take at this face value that he got duped, or because I know the level of ego some people walk around with when it comes to investing in somebody else's kid. Like, this guy could be trying to sell the story of being the good guy, and you know how sometimes when they're the good guy, they it's like everything they do is good, everything is at this level of blah blah blah, everything they give is a gift. And so, like, maybe the mom thinks so, but if the kid doesn't think so, okay, and all right, take the child off of the insurance, all the above. But all you're doing is continuing to make it so that you won't be at any other functions either. Like, if the goal was to be that person in that child's life, you literally just decided to blow that up. So how important was that to you, really?
The thing is, it's easy to say that now after the time has been put in, because the way, again, me thinking about it as a person, not just a woman and not just a single mother or whatever like that, it's real easy to say that after I put in the work, I served the utility that you needed from me. You get what I'm saying? It's hard being a single mother. It's hard being unpartnered. It's hard not having that help in the home, even if it is just financial. And Campari brought up something that I was going to bring up after I got to talk again, where being a trucker means you're not in the home a whole lot. So there is there is a big chance that A, against him, that he thinks he's a better father or more involved father than he actually was, and B, for him, that he was always just used for money and utility. You get what I'm saying? So that's a toss up right there. But I'm saying, like, to sit and say to somebody after the fact, when there's no recourse for them to be able to take it back or to make a different decision or anything like that, oh well, you must not have cared. You must not have really cared.
But dude, this is a child. Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like it's rational to have this transactional mindset towards kids, because, like,
It's
my
really
mama
not.
went through
I'm
it.
not
I
saying,
love
because
my
I'm not
mother to
looking
death
at it, and I'm
forever,
not
but
saying
she
it's
went through it
mature.
with me.
I'm not saying it's mature, but I don't think it's so much just a transactional thing as a like literally you could have told me this, but you get what I'm saying? I thought we talk about this all the time. I thought we were doing this one thing. I thought I had a certain level of respect. I thought I had a certain position in your life. And I'm saying that how we talk about that when that happens to women all the time, this is one of the ways it can happen to men.
Fair enough.
I
go ahead.
agree with that.
I
To full stop, I agree with that. Your statement you just made, that, and thinking that you had a certain type of relationship and then you find out through something like a graduation, a wedding, you're like, oh, okay, I guess we weren't what I thought we were. Totally get that. I guess I'm wondering, and perhaps it did for him, does the reaction or does the what is it? Does the consequence match the punishment? Like not being invited or missing the graduation, did it have to go all the way to get the hell out our house, get off my insurance? Like, was there a conversation about, after the fact, like, yo, you really hurt my feelings. Like, I really thought we were this. And then to be excluded for something so important in your life, like perhaps a once in a lifetime, unless you go to grad school, but you'll never do, undergrad, or you'll never graduate high school again. So I missed something so important. Like, that really hurt me. Like, what?
I mean, I'm asking you, where really is the restoration for him? And this is not me saying like, oh yeah, men should be able to do whatever when they're angry or mad. You know what I mean? They should be able to do whatever to us, to children, to our children, whatever, when they're angry or mad. But I'm saying, like, looking at this as a social situation, it was nothing physical. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't beating it. This is a relational, interpersonal issue. And I also agree when you're saying like, okay, this is not really between him and the child. This is between him and the mother, right? And that's true. And I want to again give you my thought process and what I think as an individual. Again, this is why I don't do relationships, because people do some weird stuff and contort themselves into weird ways and compromising positions to try to make these things work and benefit. I'm talking men and women in these situations where it's just like, I would rather just not do this thing, because there are a lot of ways that I could be compromised, and there's a lot of ways that I could compromise another person that I would not want to do, because I wouldn't want anybody to do it to me. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
if I could guess, this is just my guess, the bio dad made her choose between whether he comes or her stepdad comes. And it could be that the two of them just cannot be in the same space.
It could really be any family member.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what, for me, there were a couple reasons why. Because, like, if it was 4 tickets or less, I would just be like, hey, like, it is what it is. It's not like there's no situation and when I would have been like, you just might have to. If it was like 4 tickets or less, I would kind of be like, 8 tickets. He couldn't get one of 8 tickets.
No.
Because she didn't want him there like that.
I feel his feelings in this situation, like, they don't matter to me. And maybe that's harsh, but
no, it's not about they don't matter to you. But because it really isn't about any of us. We're no one in this situation, right?
No, but I can totally understand why, like I can understand why wait, no. Now I'm confusing myself. Wait. You go ahead. Let me think for a minute.
I get, were you trying to say that it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how we feel, but you could see his side from how they feel affecting him, or you don't care how they
No, I can totally understand. Like, I can totally understand like no one being concerned with him not being there because it is not about him. And I mean, I don't know, that's just like that for me, like that's the bottom line. And when you know, do X, Y, and Z for children, it's not transactional, right? You don't know if you don't even know the outcome, right? Even your biological children, like you pour into them, right? You take care of them. You don't know the outcome of that relationship. But the second that something goes wrong, like that doesn't mean that you cut off any like resources that you've given that person. So, yeah, I just think the way that he has handled the situation after, instead of like having it be a conversation and like a moment for the family to kind of come together and really like talk through exactly what is going on, to kind of push it even further, right? And now it's instead of it being a one-day event, like now, you know, it's carrying on into the next few weeks. So, yeah,
Because
it's just ridiculous.
I can even see if he was like, yeah, my wife was in on her excluding me, the whole family, and nobody saw fit that I deserved to be there. And then when I brought it up to my wife, she was like, oh well, I'm doubling down with my daughter, Kay and Matt. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole house is against you. Like I
think
can
part
kinda
of
see that vitriol. Like
I think part of the issue with the way that it is explained is that he doesn't mention how he feels about the wife. However, the same way we say when the women do it, in this case more than likely, because he know he ain't leaving it. Like I said, I know for me, I would have just been leaving, you know, marriage over. You know what I mean? If somebody did something like that to me and I felt that deeply about it, because I don't see a way forward beyond that. Because yeah, we can sit and have a talk about it, but you just did whatever you did, and I'm still sitting here looking stupid. You know what I mean? So if I feel like you fundamentally do not appreciate me, you fundamentally do not respect me, it's the marriage. It ain't about, oh, I'm kicking her out the house, but we still won't hug up because you my enemy too, right? So I don't disagree with you guys that there is something missing there in terms of like how he feels about the mother, and there are some questions there in terms of like, is he only mad at the daughter or whatever? But in my mind, I interpreted it too as him, that was how he was getting back at both of them.
Getting back at a child is weird.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
it's not. Like, this is not me saying like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But I interpret in terms of you like, oh, he's just trying to punish her. No, I felt like he was trying to punish them both, to be honest.
Yeah, and if he is someone who is like willing to take these like punitive measures for situations that really like are not, I don't think it's that serious. Yeah, if he's gonna
That's the
like
only part I
crash and burn all of
believe.
his relationships because of this,
That's
then
no, because
Mhm.
because to me that's the same logic that men use when they're like, "Oh, you're going to break up a happy home. You're going to leave your relationship because I'm cheating. You're going to leave your
yes,
relationship
yeah,
because." To
Yeah.
me, that's the same. So if you're saying like, "Oh, he shouldn't be upset about this thing that is clearly disrespectful, clearly hurtful," like you get what I'm saying? Because I remove the gender, you get what I'm saying?
yeah, but I think what is kind of intrinsic when you consider the gender, right? Like how someone responds to being hurt,
Mhm.
and like how someone deals with their emotions and like the level of emotional regulation that they have, like that is in a lot of ways that's like a gendered skill for whatever social reason that we are still trying to figure out. um
Mhm.
so, I mean, like, even you said, like, if you were in this situation, you would, like, you would be upset too, right? Like, I don't think you would be in this situation. I think you would have noticed, like, I think you would have known way beforehand, like, what the situation was, right? And then known what to expect and would have, like, maneuvered appropriately. So, yeah, I think there is, like, a gendered component to this, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, now digging deeper beyond what is there on the thing, like I say, I would say if this is even a real scenario, first of all. But if this is even a real scenario, I would say that he and maybe both of them were just comfortably living in the delusion of these gendered roles and in this patriarchal thinking of like, oh, well, I got a man and that's all that matters. Da, 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 da. And he's like, oh, I got a woman at home and I take care of home and I'm a provider. And then a lot of these other things were getting lost in the margins, of these finer details that you're talking about where one would be able to pick up, hey, something's off with this situation. It may not be what I think it is. So definitely for somebody like me, because I'm watching so deeply that's why I'm not even getting into these relationships, because I can't even get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a boyfriend. This man can be my boyfriend. I'm catching stuff as soon as we meet. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and it's because of these social mores, right? So yeah, I got you.
I just don't think you would be in this situation because you would have had the conversation long ago. I mean, it's just how moms are. Like, we know graduation is coming down the road. We like, all right, what you gonna wear, who's coming, where we gonna meet up. It is just like details that women, moms go into where we're, especially when such a large occasion is coming up. Like those things just don't go unspoken. And if there is any angst or what have you around the who's being invited, I think that would have been hashed out before.
Actually, I mean, and since we're just talking about hypotheticals and what could be and what we can glean from, the information we got on the thing about the dynamics of the person, I could see in this situation, these particular people, I could see them not saying nothing until the very last minute because they didn't want to have that conversation. You get what I'm saying? Because they didn't want to have that conversation. And they didn't want him to be upset enough during a time where they would actually have to deal with how he feels.
Yeah. And I mean, that's totally reasonable. And like, that's also a crazy way to live, So, yeah, all
Because
of
it
it is
says
just
something.
wrong.
Because it says something about the way that he relates to that kid, if that is the case. Like,
not necessarily. This is the thing. That's not necessary. And this is not me trying to be like, not all men. This is me because this platform is where I hope we can talk about the shit women do, but in a way that's kind and, that's not condemning and not me trying to puff myself up over other women. We can do some shit and we can hurt people. As I've told you many times about how I have hurt my own children as a mother, right?
yeah.
So,
But I feel like I mean, I understand it. I understand where you're coming from. I just think that in terms of relationships with kids, you get the relationship you invest in and you create. So most of the times, I mean, stepkids can have their resentments, and yes, you're going to need some championing from the partner to legitimize the relationship and to create the safety, all the above. I think what I'm pushing back on is the idea that he invested so much just because, based off of the scenarios that are the most flattering to him, i.e., they were hiding it from him, it was sprung on him, there was some sort of family avoidant of the reality of, what is disappointing in this moment. I'm not saying he can't have his feelings hurt, and I'm not trying to deny that he could have invested, that there are men that will invest in these kids. I just, what I am doubting is that this is something that should be on the woman's lap, or should be something that's an indicator of the like the kid not having the kid being thoughtless, because we're making a lot of assumptions that are based off of the information we get, and we can only go by the information we get. But based on the information we got, I'm just like, homie, like, you immediately going here gives, oh, so like you just go off the handle. What most, like, anger management, like, a little bit of self-importance, because if you want to be there for a kid's graduation, a lot of times, yeah, the women are the ones organizing it, right? And maybe he's used to having his wife be the main person doing this, so it kind of sprung up on him. But that's a lot of maybes that we're willing to put out there to
But
give
you're
him
putting the
validity to his
same amount of
claim.
maybes towards your perspective, your chosen perspective. You get what I'm saying? Because all we
I don't think so, because we have that he didn't.
information in the thing. So if we go from anything beyond that, because the first thing you and a couple of you said was, oh, well, if this is how he's describing it, he must be a volatile person, and they just didn't want him around for all these reasons that are not in the prompt.
Yeah, well, I said that based on the fact that it escalated so quickly.
Right, but
Right?
again,
Like,
that's
if I'm
an
upset,
assumption being made beyond what was presented. And so I'm saying, like, we can, but when you're doing that in one direction and then say we can't say then we can't do that in the other direction. It could be either or, because this is here in the middle. You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe, but I'm just more willing to give the mom the benefit of the doubt.
And that's
So
okay. You listen, that's fine. And I get it. I get that. And when you were talking concerned about like about his reaction, or like, oh, he blew up or whatever like that, it made me think of a time I was in my 20s or something, and like this is when I started doing hair and everything. And I have an aunt that lived out of town, and so she came into town, and so she had asked me, I think I did hair like sometimes on the humbug, but I worked at TSA at the airport. And I remember it was like 4th of July or something, one of the summer holidays, and my family was going to one of our aunt's houses for the annual block party or whatever, and I knew the food was going to be amazing and this and that and the other. But my other aunt from like my grandfather's side, the block party was going to be on my grandmother's side. This other aunt was my grandfather's sister, and she asked me to do her hair. She asked me to do like some like natural looking kind of twists with added hair or whatever. And I remember just kind of be like, oh, I didn't really feel like it, but I was like, okay, I'll do it, like on my day off. And I asked my family. I did not want a plate of food. I did not. All I asked them for was a burger from the grill, like just a barbecue burger, just one. I could taste it. You know what I mean? So I got up that day and I went and I did my aunt's hair, and my back was hurting, my feet was hurting, and my aunt was being so like, it's one of the reasons I don't do hair anymore, is because, like, sometimes when you do people's hair, they could be like, oh, And so I had a whole long day of just drudgery. And then I get all the way home and I'm so tired and I'm ready to go to bed, but not before I wrap my mouth around this burger. And I went and I was looking in the refrigerator and everything. I'm like, oh, where's my burger? And my grandma goes, oh, we forgot. I'm sorry. Girl, I bust out crying. Sometimes you was just holding on. You know what I'm like? You were just making it through because you thought that this thing was going to happen. And then that one thing that you was holding on to don't happen.
But I have empathy for you. I just be side-eyeing these dudes, and I don't know what this means about my heart.
This is the Scrutinize These Men platform, okay? I'm not telling you to stop. This is just
I don't give the benefit of the doubt, so
I got you.
Definitely not to no dude. Like, for what?
I just feel like there's information missing. And I'm like, damn, how do we get here? How do we get to she kicked out, get off my insurance, like all of these things? It's like, so how did this escalate to that? Because that's something you can't come back from on either side. If you feel like being disinvited, not invited to the graduation, well, my nigga, you kicking me off your insurance, knowing that
that's the weird part for me. Like, how are you acting like we're still going to be together? Why are you trying to still be together? To me, I don't disagree that was disrespectful. I don't disagree that your feelings were disregarded in a way where it makes sense for you to not want to deal with them anymore. But this idea that, oh, tit for tat at that level, I will agree that tit for tat at that level does indicate a level of toxicity that, to Sally Joe's point, I would not engage in. And I would have been going a long time ago. So that does denote a level of toxicity in the dynamic that just kind of exists there. Because you're right. How did we get here? How did it get this bad? How did it get this bad?
Yeah, like how do we get this?
And driving without insurance is a crime. Like now,
Well, the
she's
thing is,
exposed to
but
other
that
stuff.
so this is where I say I'm not mad, because you got two parents, apparently, and not just you got two parents. Apparently, y'all are a unit today, so y'all need to come together and be a unit for these things that y'all were offloading onto me. As
If that
parents.
is the case, if he's being accurate, unfortunately, men have created a reputation where I doubt all of this. Like like, what is the situation where, and I understand what you're saying. We gotta like be fair. This is a space for Black women to improve. I get it. It's just like the twitch in me is just like, yeah, but these dudes feel like they're stepdaddy of the year just because the child is not starving. So what are like, given the reputation of some of these guys and the way that they act, like stepfather is the hardest work no matter what they do, little or big, it's just like I immediately go to you hype. You real hype off of some stuff that it doesn't seem like the people around you, because most women, to your well stated point, appreciate stepfather stepping up, would advocate for the stepfather to have, to be welcomed and celebrated. Like the choice that she made in saying like, all right, fine, I don't know. It's also an indicator of like maybe he was just like there and not there. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, look, this is the thing, and then, I don't want to keep saying but I'm just saying, like, I know that there is this thing though where people have we see it all the time with child. Why somebody texting me about what age I'm turning this year? Anyway, we see it all the time.
21.
Thank you, girl.
They giving you some money?
No, they just in my business. Uh, we see it all the time with the men that are unwilling to accept what is in their face about their
Yep.
parents. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? To accept that their biological fathers don't want them and never did. You know what I mean? So I say there's enough room there for me to be open. Like, definitely I have more questions. It's not that I don't have more questions, because like I said, one of the main questions that I thought of when I read it was, well, wait a minute, is his problem simply that he didn't get a ticket, or is his problem that he feels like he didn't get a ticket, he was pushed out so that the biological father could be there as well? Because that is kind of the way it seemed based off of how he worded the thing. Because I don't feel like that's like, if you was going to be mad regardless whether the man was going to be there, well, now you're just, to me, that's really like petty and stupid. But if it was just a thing of like, look, I just want one of the 8 tickets, I'm with you,
The thing is, like, the perfect person for him to explore that with is a therapist. Like,
the perfect person to explore that with is his fucking wife. To be like, and
Yeah.
again, this is why I don't engage.
well, he can start with the
relationship.
therapist and figure out how to approach the conversation in a mature way, and then he can talk to his wife.
Baby, the fact that I'm sorry, and this is again why I do not engage in relationships and stuff like that, because you gonna see me. If I feel like you wrong me, fuck another person, you gonna see me. Now, I pride myself, and I've been told that I'm very good at handling conflict. So more than likely, I wouldn't have just done those things. And I would have been asking questions, and I would have been, I or at least I'd like to think, because again, I have been in situations where I've been caught off guard in a way that I couldn't even foresee I would have been caught off guard. You get what I'm saying? So there's a lot of ways that I can sit and say, just like they do with the women all the time. They're saying about Cassie and Megan and all these other people, oh, she should have known. We're just like, not necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I just know that I would not have wanted to have been treated in that way.
of course
And I
not.
also, like I wouldn't have wanted to be treated in that way. If I'm putting myself in the daughter's shoes, I feel like, no, I'll say this much. Let's say he was a bad guy. Let's say she wasn't comfortable in her own home. I've been in that position. I've been in a position where my mother has prioritized romantic relationships over me. But I was never close enough for anyone to be confused when it comes to her boyfriends, if that makes sense. Like it was none of my mom's people. That's not true. My mom, but I was already a grown woman by then, and we were pretty cool until all that stuff happened. My mom's current husband, like she's been with him for decades and decades at this point, and he was a cool guy. Like we never had any problems. But again, by the time she got with him, was I a teenager? I was like pretty much 17, 18. I was pretty old. So, and I never lived with her. So he was never my problem in that way, but he was a cool guy. So I don't know. My point is, my
it takes
mother's person
one thing.
He would have known I wasn't fucking with him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think especially like from the perspective of a child, right? It takes maybe one bad interaction, right? And then you kind of really see what that person how they really feel, or like what they're really capable of, or kind of like what deeper issues they have, which like can make you not want them in your space. So I think there's like a lot of maybe this is like the daughter practicing discernment in a way that, maybe her mom isn't. So, yeah. Boundaries, right?
Or
That's
even
what
like,
I'm saying. Like, honestly, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard for me to believe that, because if you do have that kind of relationship with your biological father and your stepfather is that bad of a guy, why aren't you already living with him? You get like that. You don't think that's
there's also reasons for that too. But I will also say that, like, even if so I remember when I was 17 or 18, like, not like kids do crappy things. Like, kids are thoughtless. Like, the thing there, I'm not saying that it's okay, but if a child was raised by their stepdad, even the best stepdad ever, right? And on their graduation day, they, for whatever reason, decide that they want to have their father there, because I feel like the father being chosen to be their biological father is probably a unique stab. Obviously, the aunties and uncles who are not physically in the home, but my aunties and uncles show up for me, so it's not like a situation where I'm trying to diminish the aunties and uncles. But I feel like, based off of what I know of men, the biological father is probably the lion's share of the hurt in that situation. Yeah, the child did something crappy. Maybe they're being sentimental about their relationship with their dad, or the input of their dad. Like, the thing about it is that we're also talking about a kid that is, like, their frontal lobe ain't even fully developed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, when I think about kids and the crappy things they did, I'm so glad that my mom knew not to take me seriously as a child, because I was sometimes kids are hurtful, and it's a part of growing up. So the idea that you're saying that you fathered this child, but you don't have capacity for a deeply hurtful moment to continue on, because you can't understand how you haven't superseded the biological father, is a little bit of naivety and immaturity. Because there's always, like, the child that's like children are sentimental about their biological parents sometimes, and make really crappy choices because of it. Like, it is, I don't know, I just feel like, if the child made that as a misstep of whatever, there also should be grace for that too, seeing as how we are talking about somebody who's like 17, and maybe because they weren't raised with their biological father, is is sentimental about the idea of that person being there. Granted, maybe it could have gone a different way, but I just feel like we're also talking about somebody who's doing all going on, like this person is like a full-fledged decision maker, you know, like everybody else was planning that person's graduation for them. They're still a kid, you know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I definitely agree that, similar to, like how I was talking about Ashley before, this is one of those situations where there clearly is, I mean, I don't know what he said to the mom, but again, just going off of what he talked about in that post, he only mentioned the retribution towards the daughter. So assumably he's taking out what he's not willing to really go to the limit for, which would be leaving the mother, which in my book would be totally warranted, but which is leaving the mother. He's taking it, he's gonna get his lick back some kind of way, and that is weird. And that is because I get frustrated when women do it. You know what I mean? Like, I get frustrated when women will do everything but leave the man. So it's like,
That's real. That's real. I just I have a tick about like us not, because I saw I saw something today, something similar about a 16-year-old kid and acting out. I don't even remember the story, but immediately what came up for me is just that, like, wait guys, like, so you're saying you want like thoughtful behavior from somebody whose hormones are raging and has no sense? Like, there are children who have sense, but like, so, like most of the time you're completely thoughtless as a kid and have no idea that adults have feelings. And I know that's a terrible thing to say, but also it is something that I assume parents would also have the grace to have the mental bandwidth to know that, yeah, sometimes kids do thoughtless, mean things that you correct them for, but we're still talking about somebody whose frontal lobe ain't right, you know?
I definitely, like I said, as I've grown on my journey of learning how to be the parent that I always wanted to be and that I feel like my children deserve, I did have to strike that balance between, okay, how much mom I need to be and how much person I need to be. Like, the whole situation surrounding my daughter's graduation, my daughter's high school graduation and prom and everything was an absolute nightmare. And like, it took me about 2 to 3 years to recover from it psychologically and emotionally. But again, I'm dealing with her dad's family and stuff, and like a history of abuse towards me. You know what I mean? So like, trying to navigate that situation and honor myself and take care of myself and give her, and still give her autonomy and option. But I'm gonna tell you, right, I told her when everything was said and done, mind you, this was after a bunch of stuff that also she was being an asshole about. I wound up telling her, you know what? It's them or me. I'm gonna be honest. And that's
Girl.
when it became them or me, because that's why I have high blood pressure now. And I never had high blood pressure in my life. So it's I get it. It gets tough. I get it gets
And I
tough.
also know that as a person who's not a mom, that there are parts of this that is really like, yeah, but you don't know until you're in the situation where you have to navigate those types of feelings. I also want to say that, like, what do I know about being a parent and graduation?
No,
Like,
well, the reason I wanted
You've
to
been
have
a
this
child though.
conversation, yeah, you've been, exactly. You have been a child, and the thing that I try to do, I do try to incorporate my experience as a child into my experience as a mother and be mindful of like my children's experience of me, because one of my things on the back of my book, I have a saying: the legacy you live is the legacy you leave. And so like, it is our responsibility.
bars.
It is our responsibility to teach our kids how to people. So we have to learn how to people. But when you're coming up, I think we all have room to build on what we were taught. But to your point, concern, and a lot of us didn't even have the baseline level that we deserved. You know what I mean? Because the people before us were lacking for a lot of valid reasons. And so it gets hard. again, that is why I try to keep it as simple as possible for myself, because for me, I have full awareness and intention that my children are my top priority, that getting them to at least the point of, quote unquote adult, that doesn't mean I drop them off and they never can talk to me again. But it means like, that is the time that I feel like is that I owe them a certain level of focus. And so for me, all this going back and forth and who owes what and who's doing what and who thinks what should happen is too loosey goosey. I need to focus on what I feel like my responsibility and my priority is, which is my children.
That I appreciate. That I rock with. Like, yeah, yeah. Like, cause like, so, like, I don't know, man. We're on the same page. I just like. I think that as much as the label and the labor of mother is um built out for society, like what it means to be a good father is loosey goosey on purpose. And so I just like let the
That's a
kid
good
tell me
point.
that you're a good father. Like, don't tell me that you're a good father. I don't care if a guy thinks that he's a good father. Let the child, let the kid tell me you're a good father. I know that sounds awful, but it's my truth.
No, it doesn't, because there's so many men right now that'll sit there and say dumb stuff like, "Oh yeah, I could cheat on the mother and be a good father," or "I'm a good father because I paid the child support, the minimums," and you know what I mean. So it's like there's so much truth to this idea that a man's perception of what kind of father he is, you can't really put any kind of stock in it. So I'll give you that 100%. But yeah, I was just speaking in terms of taking what was read at face value and putting myself in that position. I know what I would do. I know what I would do.
I feel that. And I mean, if it's your family and you've invested, I'm not saying that there's no reason to get hurt at all. I can understand that. It would be disappointed, but I'd be mad as
Girl,
hell.
I would be you. First of all, I've been talking to you specifically through the stuff I've been going, so how I would have felt. You know what would have been going on with me in terms of the level of hurt.
Yeah, yeah, because it is hurtful. I understand, and I got that. But like, I just think that we're all on the same page. It's just one of them's about like when dudes tell me stories about am I the a-hole on the internet? I'm just like, you got to give
First of all,
receipts for me
I'm
to
gonna be
not go
honest.
there.
I don't even really think this is a real city. You know what I like? I think most of this stuff on the internet is content, especially if there's no real platform behind it, baby. That's copy. Okay, that ain't.
That's so
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
rage bait. Clickbait, rage bait is
Mm-hmm.
all debates. There's like, see,
Yeah,
I told
like
you these women don't be appreciating a good man. Like,
it's propaganda. If I don't see no real pictures that ain't AI, and on profiles that been there for years and stuff like that, I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt. This,
I
we just
mean, we've seen enough like reality TV content to know that like the way that,
mm-hmm.
when these things are interpreted, it's through a totally different lens that only makes sense to, a small portion of the population usually. So,
First of all, the page is called Proud Black Father.
yeah, propaganda.
Like
Like,
that's so,
get out of
and I'm
here.
not because black fathers can't be proud, and not because there aren't proud black fathers, but it screams
No,
a
but they would
certain
have
kind
a
of
page
brand.
for that. Like, yeah,
Yes, it
propaganda.
screams a certain kind of brand. Typically, when you have those things, it's for advocacy. Advocacy.
it's giving a certain content creator on a low where his name has 2 letters.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
Let us not invoke that spirit over here. Not that I don't know if they would come or not, but
Yeah, for
maybe
real. No, I'm not.
let's not invoke that spirit.
Based on the Discord, it's giving he's on Themis's live or in the comments.
Right, live. Themis is live right now.
Yeah, I think he went live at 8.
Oh, okay. Well, I was about to end anyway. I didn't know that. But
Ooh.
all right, you got any
Might slide over
final-
there.
Yeah, you got any final thoughts or anything you want to say?
It's propaganda.
Yup. I think your
It's
hair
okay
looks
to
great.
be biased, and it's okay to not be objective.
Yeah, listen, that's how we protect ourselves. I ain't even meant like I'm over here. I'm here to do a certain type of job, so I can do that. You know, I got my head on a swivel. But no, y'all protect yourselves. Scrutinize these men. That's every day, all day. Scrutinize these men. Go
I
ahead,
mean, it's a
Kristen.
patriarchy, so you know.
Yeah.
That is it. I mean, y'all said what I was saying because, like, no lies. I'm gonna need to see receipts. Yep, it is that serious. Yep, y'all have been running amok. I need receipts. That is all.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming up. This is the first time in a long time I've had like a full panel. So thank you so much for that.
Have fun.
It was fun.
It was
Y'all know
fun.
Yeah, this
So
is
let's
cool.
go over there and twerk. And I will see you guys over at Themis Live.
Bye.